So was there a point when you were growing up that made you want to go into masculinity? Was there a defining moment that, maybe you felt you weren't as manly enough or that you weren't the man that you wanted to become? Can you remember that point, or was it a general interest?
Well, I was always really confident in whatever I was doing, whether it was masculine or not. But I would say that I was always interested in gender and the ideas that surround that, gender and sexuality and things like that. And then when I got to be about 30, I realized that a lot of things that I dismissed really as a younger man, I started to appreciate the importance of them. So I started to investigate really why people, talk so badly about masculinity, why people have such a strong reaction to it, and some of the positives that I think come from actually striving to be a better man kind of called to me, and I started to investigate it and realized that when it comes to the answering the question, what is masculinity, most people don't have a very good answer, and that's why I think they're very easily manipulated.
And it's certainly something we're seeing more and more in today's society. Would you look at masculinity, for example, as being dumbed down or neutralized in, TV, films, and that sort of thing?
I mean, not so much dumbed down, but I guess softened. I think more than anything. I mean, it's kind of made into a joke. Especially in television and movies and things like that. You always have the smart lady cop who's always better than all the other guy cops, no matter what. And then you have these 110-pound girls beating up guys in the street and all kinds of crazy things that you see in movies and television. You always have the know-it-all mom who just laughs at the husband who can't seem to figure anything out in life and somehow makes it along. But you see that a lot in the world, and I think what you see in mainstream society, well, I wouldn't say mainstream society so much as mainstream discourse, which I think is different when you talk about like the mainstream media and what opinions are acceptable and marketable. I think that you'll find a lot of people who will soften masculinity by saying, there are different kinds of masculinity and masculinity is evolving. And it's just a way to be overly inclusive, because when you're marketing things, you want to be overly inclusive and you don't want to make people feel bad because you want them to make them feel good by and include them in what you're selling. And I think that that's why all this inclusivity that you see in all throughout society is really more about marketing than I think it is about ideology.
So if you had to define masculinity in a few sentences, can you define it in a very specific way, or is it quite, is it just what makes us part of men?
I don't know. I've never been able to get it down to a few sentences, but I think in my book I bring it down to masculinity. What men perceive as being masculine in each other are the things that they needed from each other to survive throughout our evolutionary history. Things like strength and courage and competence. I mean, those are the things that men have always demanded from each other in a stressful situation. And I think that men still evaluate themselves by those kinds of things. And so I think there's strong parameters for it that haven't changed, and they never change because they're actually biologically part of who we are. When you talk about strength, men are stronger than women on average. That is part of masculinity at its most extreme point. Mm-hmm. And the same thing is true of courage. Men are less risk averse and have been pushed to take risks more and more throughout evolutionary history because they had to do the riskier jobs. And again, that's always been true. It's not suddenly not true because we're living in an age where we're very protected and we don't have to take any risks. It's still what masculinity is, and so that's really how I'd answer that question. I think there's some basic things that have never changed. I think in ancient Greece, I think that you could have said, is being a man the same as being strong and courageous? And the answer would have been yes to most people. I don't think that has changed a whole lot.